Before we start the video, I strongly recommend you subscribe to my Telegram channel where you'll find news, tons of discounts on sneakers and clothing, as well as exclusive reviews you won't find, most likely, anywhere else. So follow the links in the description and subscribe. Enjoy watching! In front of you are the new Adidas Climacool, revolutionary sneakers from Adidas, which you can barely even call sneakers. The brand's first fully 3D printed sneakers, which are set to change the way we think about modern footwear. Something that just a few years ago seemed like an unbelievable concept from the future has now become reality. And to be honest, this is not the kind of reality I would want. Okay, if I had to sum them up in 3 words, it would be pure torture for your feet. I literally endured wearing them just so I could tell you everything I think about them. Even though the idea looks really cool on paper, Adidas once again made a huge mistake with just one thing, which instantly turned these Climacools from sneakers of the future into sneakers you'd want to take off and put away as soon as possible. Far, far away. And what's most interesting is that they've already had a similar situation before, but apparently they didn't learn anything from it. Before we talk about the new Climacools, of course, it's worth remembering Adidas's first, let's say, printer experience. That, of course, is 4D. At the time, they made a lot of noise because the technology was extremely exotic. 4D looked cool, and initially they were conceived as a custom story. That is, a person could come to the store, get measured, and a custom platform would be printed based on the shape of their foot. But that approach was scrapped, and instead they just started making uniform sneakers. And because of that, they didn't appeal to everyone. And they felt incomparably stiffer and much less interesting than Adidas's main foam at the time, Boost. But if in 4D the main issue was still with the platform, which, for what it's worth, could be adjusted with the fabric upper and lacing. In the end, with these Climacool shoes, everything is made as a monocoque, and that's their main problem. But to be fair, Climacool shoes look like absolutely nothing else. You can write in the comments what you think, but at least visually making them look futuristic. Adidas managed to do that, in my opinion. And while I was wearing them, people kept staring and couldn't figure out what the heck I had on my feet. But still, in photos, they look bulkier than when you actually put them on. As for whether you should wear socks with these or not, I'll leave that question open. It's really up to you, but I'll talk more about this point a bit later. And that's it for the positive features. Unfortunately, because from here on out it's either going to get worse or just not good at all. So if you wanted to get yourself a pair of regular, comfortable human sneakers, you'd be better off choosing those. And as usual, you can do that with the help of the best agent for ordering from Poison China Fairy Tale. Of course, you're already familiar with the guys from CFT. They're still the most reliable agent in the galaxy, and they're the only ones in their field that I can wholeheartedly recommend to you. These guys, an impeccable reputation. And over the years, I haven't heard a single complaint that they've scammed anyone, dodged fulfilling orders, or anything like that. In this regard, they're as reliable as it gets. I've already explained how to order from Poison, but if you forgot, just download the app using the link in the description, register, and find the item you want there. For example, sneakers. On the product page, click this button and select your size. They use standard European sizes. Take a screenshot of the colorway you want and copy the link to the sneakers using the button. In the top right corner, send all this information to the China bot, pay for your order, and wait for your package. And to make ordering even easier, as always, I'm leaving you a promo code that gives you free shipping within Russia. But it's only valid for a limited time, so make sure to use it and follow the links in the description to shop with these guys. Now let's continue. There's really no point in doing a classic review of these Climacools because the design is extremely simple. So I'll just answer the main questions about how they actually feel and what it's like to walk in them. And first, and probably the most positive thing, is that these are the perfect sneakers for summer. The 2025 Climacools are the most Climacools of them all, of all the Climacools. This line is generally considered the best selling in the industry, but in the new ones, ventilation literally goes all 360 degrees. Basically, your foot is kind of suspended in the air and gets airflow from above, the sides, and even from below. That's why I would call their temperature maximum, the highest temperature your body can actually handle. At the same time, there's no kind of sweatiness here like you get with Crocs, for example. No matter how much I walked in them, it always felt fresh, and I never had any issues in that regard. Because the material isn't some kind of rubber or traditional foam, but Adidas's own compound, which works just perfectly for summer. But I do have one complaint about this compound. The thing is, when you first take them out of the box, I'm not exaggerating right now, they smell like some weird crap. I honestly have no idea what it is. The smell is like you've gone down into some cellar that 5 years ago, someone put potatoes in there and never took them out since. It just rotted away in there. That's exactly what they smell like. When you're indoors, you don't really notice it, but that first impression, this kind of thing, it really ruins it. Seriously. Will this kind of thing collect dust and dirt? Of course, there's no way around that. But other summer sneakers made from traditional mesh will collect just as much dust and dirt. But to be fair, this kind of synthetic material, it's still much easier to clean than fabric that gets dirty or stained. And good luck getting that out. So far, I haven't seen that kind of problem here. To my surprise, from a construction standpoint, the Climacool sneakers are actually made quite well. Even though it all looks like a soft cage, the density varies throughout. At the bottom, it's almost solid, and it's clear why. If the density were lower here, you'd be wobbling from side to side in them all the time. But the midsole overall looks almost the same as what we saw in 4D. It's just a different pattern. They played it up in a different way. And on top, the mesh is the thinnest, so that the Climacool sneakers are as flexible and mobile as possible. But honestly, it's very hard to bend them by hand. They're heavier and much less flexible than traditional sneakers. But still, they did put some work into the shape here. So they look quite anatomical. There are certain irregularities here so that they fit the foot better. And in the heel, they even made special pads similar to those found in regular sneakers so that your heel is securely fixed and doesn't wobble from side to side like this. Well, now we come to the main problem. Remember when I talked about the original 4D idea where each sneaker would be made individually for each person? That didn't work out there. But for these Climacools, it became a fatal mistake. Even though this mesh stretches, Adidas still couldn't make them suitable for everyone. The problems start as soon as you try to put them on. And even for me, with my average arch, putting them on is almost painful. The leather starts to crease awkwardly at the entry. Then you have to somehow smooth them out so there aren't any wrinkles, and that's just for me. And if your arch is even higher, guys, I can't even imagine how much pain that would be. At the same time, since the upper is far from soft, well, you can't make it feel like foam. The sneakers fit very aggressively on the foot, and for them, this is a necessary measure. They will either press tightly against your foot, or your foot will be loose inside them, like in a bucket. And I don't rule out that maybe, just maybe, there are some lucky people for whom they fit perfectly, but I think that's extremely rare. And when you walk, all the areas of your foot that come into contact with the sneakers, whether you like it or not, will get rubbed, and quite aggressively. Because we're not dealing with fabric here, but with stiff synthetic material. And in the first 10 minutes, you might not even feel it, but by the end of the day, there's a very high chance you'll have rubbed your feet raw and bloody in them. I'm not joking. Even the first time I walked in them from the studio to home, at first I thought, well, it seems kind of okay, yeah, but then when I put them on again to go to the office, I started to realize that my pinky toes were just done for in that spot. And that's not even mentioning what that kind of pressure does to your skin and blood vessels. Because this is what your feet look like after just 10 minutes of walking. It's just insane and, well, honestly unhealthy. It's a good thing Adidas finally caught on and released a version with gaiters which honestly looks pretty bad and feels like an attempt to quickly fix an obvious flaw. But who knows, maybe someone will need them, so just know that such a version exists. At the same time, while walking, my pinky toes would start to go numb and the ribbed bottom pressed too hard on my heels. In short, it's not great, and honestly, I don't even know what to say. Well, you could try wearing them with socks. But with socks, they look pretty weird. And when you put them on, the socks get all bunched up, which is super annoying. You have to spend half an hour adjusting them just to make the socks look even. And even then, it doesn't solve all the problems. I have just one question. Did Adidas even try wearing these things before selling them? Honestly, I'm not so sure they did. And another major issue is the sizing, because here, there isn't even an insole that I could just pull out and clearly show how the insole with the tag matches up. Yeah, and overall, the design is pretty exotic. Definitely not something you see every day. And when I watched foreign reviews to figure out which size to get, most people recommended going with your usual size. But at the time of purchase, my size wasn't available, so I had to get an 11.5 US instead of my usual 11. And thank God I did, guys, because they ended up fitting me perfectly. Yeah, they really pinch in a lot of places, but still, in terms of length, they fit me perfectly, just right to the millimeter. If I had gone with a bigger size, my foot would have just slid around inside them. If I had chosen a smaller size, I wouldn't have been able to get my foot in at all. So my recommendation to you, if I can even make such a recommendation, is to go for it. Get this little wonder in half a size bigger. The feel of the platform is actually quite good, surprisingly. If you ignore all the oddities of the upper, the Climacool walk just fine, and sometimes even really well. They have excellent roll-through. Your foot transitions very smoothly from the forefoot to the toe. The stability is decent, but it's only suitable for people with neutral pronation. And the softness hasn't really moved far from the 4D. Yes, they've definitely become softer. The feel isn't as plasticky anymore, you could say. But if you were expecting Boost level softness, no. They're still infinitely far from Boost. So I'd say the platform is their best part. But if you compare it to the rest of the market, there's nothing particularly special about it. Should we give up on the idea of 3D printed sneakers even after Adidas' second attempt? I still think the answer is no, because the idea itself is great, but it only works under one condition. If things like this are made individually tailored for each person, then there will be far fewer problems. Not all of the problems will disappear, that's true. But at least things like this will be wearable. And believe me, Adidas actually made something top tier in terms of comfort, because people have already made similar things before. Other brands did it too, like these same tablets from the brand Scary. I think it's unlikely that any of you... I've heard about it, but on my own Band Gram channel, I talked about them, and boy, oh boy, that thing is as heavy as a locomotive and as hard as concrete. Wearing something like that is practically impossible. But at the same time, there are also some really cool examples like these Asics Octabreeze, which I've already been wearing. I can't even remember for how long. And this is simply one of the most phenomenal pairs of shoes I've ever had in my life, believe me. Because I wear them around my studio, and when someone comes over and puts them on, they're just blown away. Their eyes go wide with surprise, and they can't understand how something like this is even possible. Because the material composition here is completely different. They have a springy feel, and your feet feel them in a way that's unlike anything else I've ever tested. Shoes like these are just incredible, and it's for ASICs like these that I really believe the future lies ahead. Well, I hope that in the future they'll make not just slides, but also some other sneakers. I would absolutely love to test something like this. But, judging by what Adidas has managed so far, I can't recommend you buy something like this yet. It looks really cool in photos, and it will definitely catch people's attention. But at what cost? By the way, I forgot to mention the price on the Adidas website. These Climacools cost $140, almost the same as regular sneakers, so the technology is getting cheaper, which is a good thing. But Adidas still hasn't learned how to make comfortable sneakers with a printer. And that's why my rating is what it is. In short, I still don't recommend them. It's better to get regular sneakers. Or for example, those Asics I told you about. I hope this video was useful for you guys, especially for those who were thinking of buying these to wear every day. I hope I managed to talk you out of it. Well, if not, that's okay. Enjoy wearing them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the video till the end. I hope you watched the video till the end, and please, friends, make sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel, where you'll find tons of interesting stuff, discounts, news, and exclusive reviews you won't see on YouTube. So be sure to check it out. But that's all I have to add. See you all next time.